Good morning, everyone, and thank you for joining the Embracer Analyst and Investor Call this morning. My name is Ben May, and I'm an equities analyst at Berenberg Bank, and I've been covering Embracer for a number of years now. I've been pleased to have been invited to open up the call this morning on what is an exciting day for an Embracer, with the company announcing 8 acquisitions this morning, spanning a number of areas in the gaming market, from mobile businesses to development studios to publishing businesses also. We've kindly got the management teams from the acquired companies with today, but before we hear from the different management teams, I will hand over to Lars, who's going to run you through the strategic rationale for the acquisitions completed this morning, and we'll be back at the end of the call, at which point I will host a Q&A. So over to you, Lars. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Ben, for being able to join this call with short notice this morning. And hello, everyone, and very welcome to sunny Karlstad here in Sweden. I'm excited and delighted to finally being able to present 8 new acquisitions this morning in our companies and welcome more than 560 new colleagues to the group. Today, we will present CrazyLabs from Israel, one of the leading hyper-casual mobile publishers. We will present Ghost Ship Games, a well-known name from Denmark, the makers behind Deep Rock Galactic. Also from Denmark, we will have Slipgate, Ironworks, and 3D Realms. Further, we will have one of the leading VR developers, Force Field from the Netherlands, and DigixArt from France, one of the leading indie games developers, story-driven, and Easy Trigger, which is close by here in Sweden, from Trollhättan, and finally the leading merchandise company within Viking themes, Grimfrost. So with that said, I would like to do the summary of the financial terms of the acquisition closed this morning before we're entering the company presentations. So the aggregated day one purchase prices for all the acquisitions announced this morning were 2.7 billion on a cash and debt-free basis. Approximately 2.1 billion being paid in cash and approximately 0.6 billion paid in shares. And the fairly high ratio of cash paid is driven partly by there is some VC and financial owners in one of the most significant acquisitions that are kind of exiting the business. The maximum additional consideration amounting to 2 billion, which is as usual subject to fulfillment of agreed milestones, both operational and financial, over a period up to 8 years. Of that 2 billion, 1 billion are to be paid up to 1 billion are paid in cash, and furthermore 1 billion in shares. So the aggregated maximum consideration amounts to 4.7 billion. Looking at, to give you some insight into how this earnout works. So we are sharing the following. So to achieve the maximum additional consideration of the acquired companies, the combined aggregated operational EBIT would be exceeding 6 billion from today up until March 2029, over the upcoming 8 years. And to illustrate this further, to achieve the maximum consideration milestone on year 5, that year only, the acquired companies are estimated to generate 1 billion in operational EBIT during that financial year, ending March 2026. The estimated or preliminary surplus value for all acquired companies is 4.5 billion, and this will be amortized as usual over a straight period of 5 years according to Embracer's accounting standards principles. So looking at the financial impact of all the acquisitions. So the net sales contribution we are estimating to be between 2 to 3 billion during the next financial year, starting April 1st, 2022 and ending March 2023. And profitability-wise, we are estimating operational EBIT contribution to be 300 to 550 during the same financial year, ending March 2023. During the remaining half year, Q3 and Q4, the run rate is expected to be in the lower end of the above mentioned range. And to be clear, CrazyLabs is by far the most impactful contributor, and that is estimated to be closed during the end of the current quarter ending March. An extra general meeting will be held the 23rd of August, and you got, or it was published in invite for this morning. And the reason for that is that the board doesn't have a mandate to give out shares enough. We got a new mandate in February, and now we need a new mandate to close all these transactions. That's why we're having this extra general meeting. I would like to repeat that we still have a balance sheet with a sizable cash position to support further M&A going forward. And we continue to have many ongoing discussions with entrepreneurs, creators, companies to join the family, including large or even transformative acquisitions that potentially could create new operating groups. So with that said, I would like to welcome the team from CrazyLabs and CEO of DECA online.
Hello, Lars.
And Sagi, Guy, Nurit.
Hi.
Hi.
How are you in Tel Aviv?
Very hot, very excited. We just, like half an hour ago, we announced to the employees. We asked them to be a little bit more quiet so you can hear us, but they're very, very excited about this.
Fantastic. You are very welcome to the group, and please send them my best regards here from the headquarters in Sweden. So I would like to leave over the stage to you. I will try to manage the slides here. So I will leave over to you, Sagi, and then please feel free to introduce yourself, your team, and then the company.
Sure. So my name is Sagi Schlisser. I'm one of the founders of CrazyLabs and the CEO since 2010. I have a strong technological background. I've done 8 years in the army in tech positions. I had then a startup in the B2B area, and then I've done 14 years of InsurTech. Last position before creating CrazyLabs was in Sapiens, a Nasdaq traded company. And I loved moving from B2B to B2C. For me, it was a big great change that you are you go direct to consumer, which is amazing. So this is a little bit about me. I believe in the beginning, I used to call myself the chief DNA officer of the company. I believe in DNAs. I believe in the teams, in what we create here. When that aligns, then usually everything else aligns as well. And we have an amazing team. Two of them, they will introduce themselves, and then we can introduce a little bit about the company as well.
Hi, I'm Guy. I joined the Sagi and the team here in 2012 as a COO. I also come from a tech background. Actually, Sagi and I worked in our first startup together in 99 and 2000 in the B2B. And then I also had my own startup that I founded. And I was very happy to join Sagi again in 2012 and very excited to be here today.
And I'm Nurit Benjamin. I'm also from Tel Aviv. I joined Crazy Labs about 8 years ago. I have financial background, and half of my career was a CFO of public companies traded on NASDAQ, private market, since my kids were born, and I'm very happy and excited about this transaction.
Okay, so
very welcome. Sagi.
Yeah, let's tell you a little bit about Crazy Labs. We can talk all day about it, but just the highlights. Since 2013, we've been a top downloaded company. We excel in the marketing side, but also in game creation. And we evolved into two main lines of business that we'll enhance a little bit about them in the next slide. But we have both casual with strong lifestyle and female-oriented game roots, with Super Stylist being our front-runner game, which is consistently growing and showing really a great outcome. And we have also really a good pipeline. And hyper casual, which was the genre that evolved out of the fact that there are billions of people with a gaming device in their pocket, but not all of them are hardcore gamers, so they can just play for a few minutes each time, download a lot of games, and we are one of the top hyper casual publishers. Last year, in 2020 alone, we had almost 1 billion downloads in the app stores, and we accumulated so far in our history over 4.5 billion downloads, which is a really nice amount. And we have around 110 unique monthly active users. So kind of our highlight KPIs. If we look at Super Stylist, then it was released in 2019, and you will see the trajectory, the upward trajectory. It started as a game which was doing in the hundreds of thousands, and now it's doing millions on a monthly basis. The revenue is growing, contribution is growing, and also the in-app component. So around that, we've built a lot of knowledge and gained a lot of strong teams that were working on launching Super Stylist and are now also involved in launching other projects. If we look at Crazy Labs, so our vision was to have these really strong two pillars. On one side, casual, creating casual gaming, deep casual gaming experiences, and as we already told you that we are started as tech people. We have some tech background. We also love the content part, but everything we create with the mindset that if it's going to be successful, then let's create it in a way which will then make us to do it again and again in a better way. So each time we create a new game genre or type, we create it actually as a small platform that is repeatable. We believe in that way. That is the best way for us to create things, and we've done that in the casual, in the lifestyle side, but also in the puzzle RPG, in the games that we'll tell you that we're going to launch. And it's a mix there with the in-app component and users that some of them are becoming repetitive, highly repetitive users and paying users and high monetization potential. On the other side, we have hyper casual. These are smaller games, a bigger funnel. Out of them, a very small amount of games that we test going to launch, and we'll discuss the process a little bit. But it really made us a powerhouse of marketing, understanding teams and what can be successful on the App Store and how, and building a very, very strong marketing team. And we see that it really helps the casual side, on the hyper casual side, bringing from the game expertise and from the hyper casual side, the marketing capabilities, being innovative and being really agile in marketing our games. And in the middle, we manage to find opportunities where we are entrepreneurs, and when we find things that are not defocusing for us and can leverage from that, so we also go after them, and it's very interesting and dynamic atmosphere. So you heard a little bit about the three of us, but we have, by the way, a very strong leadership team on casual, on hyper casual, with the game owners, with a lot of experience in the industry from different companies, and a lot of people that were raised in-house, which is great. A team of over 300 people and expanding, seeing in few main geographies. So here in Israel, where we started, is also our headquarters in Tel Aviv. But we also have a very strong team in China, an amazing team in Macedonia, and recently we also added offices in Germany, and we also have a very strong team in the Ukraine. Part of the way we feel we are innovative in hyper casual and in finding developers, we are a developer that at some point started also helping other developers and doing publishing. So we have both in hyper casual, and Guy might talk about it a bit more. But we said let's try and meet developers before they even know that they are a developer in hyper casual. So we've built this hubs program, where we find really talented individuals, we sort them, they submit tests and games, and we help them become hyper casual developers and launch their games to millions of people around the world. And it's a very exciting program in many geographies. We started in India and in Israel, and now it's expanded to other territories, Serbia, Turkey, Poland, and South Africa, and more is planned in the pipeline. So, and we bring a lot of value to our external developers, because unlike maybe a lot of other publishers, which are pure publishers, we are also developers, so they kind of appreciate the fact that we can give them tips both on their game and also on the marketing. So it gives us in hyper casual a big competitive advantage. Covering a little bit casual and lifestyle RPG. So this is kind of our evolution line. We started with kind of smaller casual titles in lifestyle and evolved into bigger games, bigger meta game, role-playing games, and creating social interactions and PvPs. We also have had good relationship with media partners, and we've launched games with Sony, with Mattel. But I think our most significant partner to date is Zag Animation, a French company that has Ladybug, which we launched a runner game with them, which is very, very successful. And we signed with them to launch next year, together with the movie launch, a puzzle RPG game. So one of the things that we have done, we identified the puzzle RPG market is a very interesting market for us to evolve into, and we are now in soft launch of one of our first titles there, Once Upon a Match. But as I revealed earlier, we build things in a way we believe that can be repeated. So we've built it actually as a puzzle RPG platform. And when we had the opportunity and Zag asked us to think about what we can launch next, so we proposed to them to do a bubble shooter based on that platform, which is going to launch with the movie in Q2 or end of Q1, Q2 next year, and soft launch towards the end of this year. So really exciting evolution on our casual business. The business is growing in casual. We expect the stronger growth as we go forward, and the new launches, which take more time on the Puzzle RPG platform, will start materializing, but we are constantly increasing, and among that, Super Stylist is taking bigger and bigger position out of the total pie, and getting really high valued users that play for a long time in the game, with the social network that is really enthusiastic about the game and where it's going forward. It's the most downloaded fashion game in 2020 on the app stores. If we go to Hyper Casual.
Yeah, so in 2020 we had 11 launches, and this year we plan at least twice as many launches in Hyper Casual. Some examples here, for example, Tie-Dye, that was one of the biggest one, had 70 million downloads in the first 9 months. We are very focused on expanding our presence into countries that are very suitable to the Hyper Casual business model. Today, Turkey is considered probably the most successful country in Hyper Casual. There is kind of a gold rush to the Hyper Casual today in Turkey that everybody want to develop games now, and we opened the hub in Istanbul. We hired a small team there, and we opened the hub together with one of the universities, and we teach them how to make Hyper Casual games, and then they continue to work with us at least for 1 year further and launch game with us. And we also are very focused on India, where we just acquired a small studio that is called Firescore, and they already launched with us 3 games successfully. 2 of them appear here, the acrylic nails and the soap cutting. And those 3 games that they launched with us already generate nice revenues and reach 100 million downloads. We acquired them just recently. We actually just closed this deal, and now we have a very strong presence in Mumbai, and we have another studio that we work locally in Hyderabad, and we also opened a hub in Hyderabad, and we are very focused on the India market. That is, now we see it as a huge opportunity for us. And as Sagi mentioned, we are also doing it in other places such as South Africa and others. In terms of the Hyper Casual process, so it's first about the developer relationships, building them. We have it split between external developers, with which we are launching about 70% of the new games, and we have internal studios with whom we are launching about more or less 30% of the new games with the internal studios. So it starts with this local presence and with building the relationship, and we work with hundreds of developers around the world. Then we test hundreds of prototypes every month, and there is a very clear funnel to success. We do it very rapidly, the UA and monetization testing, and eventually we launch the games, and we focus on the contribution margin. And by the end of the year, we aim to launch about 3 new Hyper Casual games every month. And just to focus what Hyper Casual is, for those who don't know, it's like the Snake and the Tetris that all of us used to play. Today, they just got their own genre, and they are called Hyper Casual. So they used to be just games that everybody plays, and today they have a name. It's called the Hyper Casual games. Very important part of our competitive advantage in Hyper Casual is our cutting-edge technology. We have a self-serve dashboard that those hundreds of developers, they can test the games independently. They don't need us to run the UA campaign and everything for them. We just close the deal with them. We give them the access, and we approve the test in terms of the quality of the test, but then they can run it by themselves, the test. They can see the results. It's very transparent, and they get attached to work with us through this dashboard because they really like it, that they can iterate and learn how the game works. Other tools that we have are deep machine learning that we use for the ad monetization side, for how aggressive we are with the ad monetization. We run A/B test, continuous A/B test to optimize the game in the background, and a few other technologies that we use to make our UA, user acquisition, and ad monetization as efficient as possible in this industry. It's a big advantage. Yeah.
Yeah, so perhaps I could step in here. Or Nurit, are you online here? Perhaps you can just tell us a bit about your revenue growth.
So we see the trend grew tremendously in the past 2 years. We had in 2019, we ended with $72 million revenues. We reached the $100 million mark in 2020, and we continue to grow. Here you can see the last 12-month numbers with $153 million, and we continue to work hard to increase these numbers. And you can see also the breakdown, the casual and hyper casual. Both segments are growing. Hyper casual is growing a bit faster, but we expect both segments to continue to grow this year and the years to come.
Thank you. And we are expecting, as you're stating, a significant growth coming out from you. You have a fantastic team and pipeline and a strategy to achieve this, which I highly believe in. So, and we have a very long-term commitment earnout model as well to incentivize you and the management.
Yes, we are very, very excited to continue and do this together for a really long time. Great.
Yeah, so Sagi, just coming into the rationale. I can just say a bit here, but I would like to just hear you out as well. Obviously, I felt a very, very strong entrepreneurship from you and the team. It's amazing. You've been through lots of ups and downs, but you are really an amazing company to adapt to changes. I think you are the winner of tomorrow, and you have a strong pipeline. And hyper casual, in a way, how you work is somehow a bit similar to what you're doing in premium games, even though the games is very different. But you work with external developers and you publish them in combination to have your in-house development. Ken, are you online here as well?
Yep.
So Ken, being the leader of the DECA Games and now having Crazy Labs being part of the vertical and a sister company to the existing companies within DECA, what synergies do you hear?
I see a lot. I'm really excited to the team join. There's a lot of similarities between our companies, even though we're doing very different businesses. We felt that the culture, the people, the drive, so much similarities, and they're going to fit in really with the rest of the group. But in particular, Crazy Labs has this immense dynamic business where they've been able to be successful in all different types of the industry, and I think that's really important going forward as the mobile industry is adapting quickly. But it's really based on their technology and the team that they have. And DECA, I think, can really utilize pushing capability and technology to support the products that we have, not only within DECA's operations business, but also within the studios in Canada that already are with. And as vice versa, I think that DECA has a immense foundation in live operations, which can only help Crazy Labs in their casual titles.
Thank you.
And so last thing, we plan to tackle a lot more M&A as well. I think both DECA and Crazy Labs will be very active on the M&A side.
Yeah, and it's quite funny that we saw this morning release of the Crazy Labs acquisition in India. That guy mentioning. That's, I think, is fantastic. So it's already happening within a few minutes.
Just a word on our side. I think for us, when it's all about people, and this is what we liked about Embracer meeting Lars and Jacob and Ken, and for us, we connect with people. So, and it's the most important thing. And we felt entrepreneurs to entrepreneurs and people to people that we share values, the way we look at teams, the way we look at gaming, and the way we look at what we want to do next, which is continue to grow amazing business in gaming and do it together. And for us, it was critical. So and we found a place where we feel that is our next home, which is really an emotional word for us. So it's not, home is not anywhere, and we feel that Embracer can really be our home. And as I said, Embracer also has this amazing name because it already makes you feel embraced. So thank you.
Thank you for the kind words, Sagi. And likewise, I can't wait to meet your team one day and to see how you're able to be integrated and how to work together with the rest of the company. It will be very exciting. So with that said, I'd like to thank the team from Crazy Labs and Ken, and I'd like to move over. So very much. Feel free to stay online. We move over from Tel Aviv to Copenhagen. So welcome Søren, Mikkel, and Anton for Coffee Stain.
Thank you, Lars. Hi, Lars.
Hey. So welcome to the group.
Thank you. Thank you. We are super excited about joining Embracer Group. And if our voices are a little rusty, it's because we celebrated this yesterday with the team. It's also very, very excited. So yes, my name is Søren, and I'm the CEO and co-founder of GhostShip.
My name is Mikkel, and I am creative director and also co-founder of GhostShip Games.
And we are founders of GhostShip, and we'll get back to that. Maybe you can change the slide, Lars.
Sure.
We can see the team here. But actually, as you can see, we started in 2016, and we'll let Mikkel start that because part of that initially.
No, so besides Søren, we were 5 people coming from a company that was closed, and we are just as when the company was closed, we got together and said, hey, shouldn't we start our own company? We had an idea for a game that was to be Deep Rock Galactic, and the 5 of us had the skills to actually create this game ourselves. We are a team that have more than 20 years of experience in the game industry. Each of us, yeah, not together. And we are a group of 3 highly skilled programmers and art director, me as game director, game designer. We got together and we started on Deep Rock Galactic. We very quickly realized that we were needing a dedicated CEO, both to help us fund the company, but also build the company.
In the same office building, working in a different context. So I went back and good luck.
And then we talked about it, and we were basically just offered Søren to become CEO for the company, and
I said yes, which is a decision I do not regret.
No.
Because it's an amazing journey since then. Then of course we got some money, we got some investment, we got on collaboration with Coffee Stain, which has been throughout all these years almost. And we've been building up a team. You can see the beautiful picture of this pirate developer team. And we've been selecting these people, some of them from our existing network, some new people, some young blood as well. And we're trying to still bring a lean, efficient machine with everybody having hands on the product, being as effective as possible. But maybe we should talk about the game that made us, the Deep Rock Galactic game.
Yeah. So Deep Rock Galactic is a first-person co-op shooter, and in the game you play as a team of 4 dwarves who were this mining corporation called Deep Rock Galactic, and they send you on missions into alien planets in order to mine them for precious minerals. So it's all about getting out alive, the goal, you can say, and it's all about going on an adventure with your friends and having a fun time.
Yeah, there's a lot of camaraderie in this game. It's about this thing about working together, and we set out a mission to create the best co-op game ever, right? And we also put that as a statement for the company. The company motto is co-op first, which also relates to the way we work with our fans, where we have a collaboration with the fans, you can say.
When we started working on the game, we made a decision that we wanted to develop the game in what we call open development, which means that we do it. We have very few secrets. We put out what we're working on and tell our fans about it. So we have not much secrecy about what we do in the company. And there's 2 huge benefits to producing a game in open development. The first is that we don't waste much time on working on features that are not going into the game, because we make our decision on based on what our audience and fans wants and are demanding, and then we shape those features together with them, which means that we basically deliver we put into producing the game is actually ending up in the game. That's very effective. Then obviously producing a game in open development is, for the whole developing team, is just immensely satisfying, because we get instant feedback from our community, and that's just satisfying.
Yeah, and it's also a way to kind of make this kind of big game compared to how small a team we are, because we have all the contributions from the fans in terms of like finding bugs and helping us translate the game and promote the game to their friends and so on. So
yeah, and to some degree, I think you could say that it's also part of our marketing strategy.
And now we're part of Embracer Group, and we are extremely proud to be now a sister company to Coffee Stain. We've been working together very closely with Anton and Albert and the other great Coffee Stain, and now being in this position in Embracer Group just feels like the natural next step for Ghost Ship, and a way for us to further expand on the Deep Rock IP, to create new IPs, and to also move on our interest in investing into game startups.
Yeah, because you have a very, I would say, you are well positioned with your colleagues in Denmark and well elsewhere in the world as well, obviously. But you already have made a few investments into other companies in Denmark, haven't you?
Yeah, so we've made one, and we have one ongoing, which will likely close quite soon. Yeah, and we are looking at several more. When we started announcing that we were interested in doing this and had the ability to do it, we got quite a lot of attention. Especially also not of course people want money, but they also want the knowledge that we and Coffee Stain have on how to develop and publish indie games
and early access games.
Specifically, and the Steam platform expertise. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's very interesting, and I highly believe in the vision and the strategy you put forward, and super excited that you also have agreed on a very long-term alignment, 8 years incentive for for you, and you know, I think you will contribute a lot to both, you know, the Coffee Stain ecosystem, but obviously the wider Embracer Group. Yeah.
We expect to. Yeah. Yes.
So thank you very much, and with that said, I would like to say again thank you to Copenhagen, and then move over to Anton and Anton and Trollhättan in a way.
Hi everyone, very exciting day obviously. Super happy about Ghost Ship. It's been a long discussions with you guys to get you into the group, and I was happy that we finally could make it work out. But today we also have another announcement, and that is like the Easy Trigger acquisition. Easy Trigger is a quite small company down in which we're working with for a couple of years now as well, and it was actually one of the first games that we signed in our publishing after publishing was started as a separate company. Easy Trigger is mainly known for Huntdown, which is an old school arcade platformer shooter, which when it was pitched to us, it was supposed to take 1 year to develop, but in the end it took 4 years to get it to the market. But takes a lot of time to make great games, and it turned out well. It just felt like a small, nice team that I think is gonna be very natural addition to the Coffee Stain group. Easy Trigger is becoming a part of Coffee Stain, not as Ghost Ship, which is going to live as a sister company. Just super happy pretty much to have Easy Trigger as part of Coffee Stain now. The plan with Easy Trigger is to establish this little company in Trollhättan that will grow just as Coffee Stain does, slowly, but with the development, as they need more people, they will grow and create new amazing IP, just like Huntdown, hopefully new IP as well. Can't wait to see what we will make with Easy Trigger in the coming years.
Thank you, Anton. I think we all that love retro and arcade are absolutely amazed of the product of Huntdown. It's really well received, great reviews, and I know there's a lot of love from a lot of fans out there, and it's also now actually coming in a physical edition. So it's close to my heart, and super excited to have them on board. So thank you, Anton. With that said, we are leaving Trollhättan and moving over to Amsterdam. Arthur, Martin, John.
Thank you, Lars. Obviously, we're very, very excited to be welcoming Forcefield to the Vertigo and Embracer family. But I'm going to let them speak and introduce their company. I think that's a better way to approach this, but Arthur Hotman, as you can see, is the CEO of Forcefield, and Martin Deronda is the creative director. And so I thought, Arthur, if you would introduce the company to our audience and give a little bit of description of your journey and how you've moved into VR.
Hello, Arthur, sorry for jumping in here. Why don't you, because we spoke yesterday and I'm very highly impressed about your background. Why don't we tell us about your background before starting the Forcefield and then jumping over to Forcefield?
Sure, Lars, I can do that. Thanks, John, for the introduction. Good morning, everyone. Yes, myself in the industry since the early 90s, with the arrival of CD-ROM at the time, multimedia, CDI was a whole road to where we are today. So I've worked at companies like Infogrames, Atari, Disney in the US. I've been hopping around from country to country a lot, and back where I'm originated from in Amsterdam. The Forcefield studio, the core team has been working together for well over 15 years, so we have a really very senior management team on board. always been very interested in new emerging technologies. That's how I got into the industry as well, when I saw digital distribution being possible on CDs, and that's been more or less through our history as a company, and my own runway as well in my career. We worked for Amazon on new platforms. We worked for Microsoft porting Halo to mobile devices. So yeah, it's really, we did a lot of OEM work and very specialized work for hire, making showcase software for new platforms, new devices. So when we saw VR starting to emerge and the affordability of the new devices that started to come up, we got very interested. Started working on some R&D next to our other work. And very quickly we got in contact with Oculus, who was of course preparing the launch of the Rift platform, the Rift device. And yes, they asked if we wanted to make a game for the Oculus Rift when that was still in gestation at Facebook. So yeah, and that was 2015, and we haven't looked back. Over the time, we've did in a very wide variation of all kinds of VR experiences and games, always trying to explore and demonstrate what the possibilities of VR are. Through that time, also we're also quite technically oriented company, so we've been able to develop an enormous amount of technology specific to VR. And we've worked with great franchises. We worked on the Star Trek franchise. We worked with National Geographic doing travel applications. So yeah, and today, of course, seeing the market grow, we were looking what the next step for the company was. Very excited, of course, to go into less business to business, more consumer-related business. And yeah, that's when we started talking with Vertigo, and here we are today.
Thanks, Arthur. Diving in a little bit further to that process as you started talking with us and what led you to joining the Vertigo and Embracer families, could you sort of walk us through the rationale for the deal from your perspective, and what opportunities do you see this creating for Forcefield?
Yeah, as I said, the business to business, of course, was a great way to get on board with VR, as there was not a big market in 2015, 2016. So that definitely gave us the opportunity to explore the possibilities and to work on our pipeline, our technologies, and grow the team. And we saw, of course, with the growth, the rapid growth that the market's been doing over the last 18 months, we definitely saw, okay, now is the moment that we can do the next step and go over to more of the passion of the studio, is making games that we want to make and not being asked to make a specific kind of game by a client. We knew Richard and Vertigo, of course, as fellow countrymen, an extremely successful VR company. So we've had continuous talks with Vertigo over the time. And when we wanted to make that step, we had a discussion with Richard, and it was clear that this was a really, really good match to join the two companies and come together and being actually the biggest dedicated VR studio in the world today, with I think over 140 employees.
And Martin, from your perspective, in terms of the creative view of the type of games you're looking at, what does this combination do from that perspective?
Yeah, well, I think as Arthur mentioned, I think it's fair to say that we've more or less grown along with the growth of the VR market over the past 6 years. And as Arthur just pointed out, we really, really enjoyed a very close partnership with Oculus, working on creative work for hire launch titles for almost every single one of their VR devices that they launched. And because of that, we've been able to more or less build and grow this, what I feel is an amazingly talented and wonderful group of people that are now capable of delivering best-in-class VR experiences in games. And obviously now that the VR market is growing and you've got next-gen devices that are going to be hitting the market soon, I believe that we're starting to see the moment where consumers are going to be looking for full-featured console-style AAA VR games. And I'd like to think that because of our fantastic team, we're more or less perfectly positioned to deliver on kinds of expectations. And the only question that remained for us was, will we be doing that independently or as part of a larger group? And the answer was more or less quite simple. When you have the opportunity to partner with yourselves, arguably one of the most successful developer publishers in VR over the past 5 years, and you're also located in the same neighborhood, the opportunity to create the world's biggest VR studio, a true VR powerhouse, which will allow us to focus on truly creative AAA VR development instead of exciting but still creative work for hire stuff that we've been doing, was simply an opportunity that we pass on. And that's obviously disregarding the fact that Vertigo is part of the Embracer Group and a subsidiary of Caution and Deep Silver, because that was the icing on the cake. And part of such a large and diverse group with all these amazingly talented and different development studios, some of which we have been listening to today, I think it's tantalizing from a creative and a commercial point of view in terms of VR. We're able now to engage in discussions with our fellow new colleagues and studios about
bringing together these two studios in terms of our development capabilities and what we can market in terms of AAA VR. We've talked about this a lot, as a group, but for those who may not know, we're certainly the VR market continues to grow rapidly. We're seeing continued growing investments from first-party platforms to grow the install base of this market, and really believe that this transaction helps us stay in and continue to be a leader in this segment. From your perspective, Arthur and Martin, what do you see this acquisitions? What does this mean for the VR landscape, and maybe a little bit more of what you see the group's ability to do?
Well, I think we're definitely showing the larger game industry the route to success in VR. Vertigo has already done that, and now we're really upgrading the whole company to a new level. A lot of the bigger publishers and colleague studios have always been waiting for it to happen, and I think we're definitely sending out a clear signal, together with, of course, the growth that everybody is noticing in the market. And I think we're going to be taking a lot of people along in our slipstream into this new and exciting entertainment platform.
Yeah, I echo that. It feels like a perfect combination. We've got Vertigo and Forcefield as veteran VR developers. Then you've got the very successful publishing power and know-how of Vertigo Publishing. And then we have the, if I can call it that, the IP candy shop of Embracer, which I think is a recipe for creative and commercial success, because the market is growing, the stakes are getting bigger, and you've got consumers craving for console-style AAA VR experiences. So I think there's never been a more exciting moment for VR, both commercially and creatively. And I think the coming 5 years are going to be amazing. If you're a hardcore VR gamer and you like some of Embracer's most popular IP, then I think you have every right to be excited by this announcement and partnership.
Thank you so much. Thank you, John, Arthur, Martin. I'm super excited about what the future will bring with you, and we are. So with that said, I would like to thank you, the team in Amsterdam and LA, and move over to somewhere in France. Where are you? You are at the camping.
Yes, we are. I don't know if Clemens is there today.
Yes, I absolutely am following the presentation of friends in VR. It's for Koch Media. This is a big day, and we are about this industry is about creativity, and other companies believe in building a few IPs bigger every year. We believe in diversification. VR is growing at a faster pace than we believe this is narrative games. This takes me to DigixArt, which we are presenting now. 2 years ago, this was the first touch point with it was called at the time, and we see hundreds and hundreds of games, right? But then we are always looking for the hidden gem. We are looking for something we have not seen before. The road really ticked all these boxes, so we were really following closely the development of the game itself, and then with the team behind it. And I must say it was great to see the team in their office now. We immediately clicked, and so Johan and Anne-Laure, please tell us all about your story and your vision. It's an amazing, unique setup that you have there.
Yeah, so first of all, we're really happy to join the Koch and Embracer family today. We founded DigixArt create a full so I will let Johan.
So yeah, we are working on the third title right now, like you said, Clemens, Road 96, with launching in fact in a few days on August 16 on the Switch and PC. So it's a very exciting moment. It's a big year for us, and we are really happy to join the group that will allow to expand and to double the studio very soon, because we have a lot of ideas, we have a lot of things we want to make, and now we can do it. So it's a really nice thing, and we are based also in the south of France, as you can see on the map in Montpellier. It's a very nice area for video games. There are a lot of developers and talents here, a lot of nice schools also in the area. So it allows us to expand quickly in the next months, because we have so many ideas we want to try in the narrative adventure space, more than just narrative, in fact. So we want to explore new fields, how can multiplayer interact with narrative, for example. This is kind of thing we want to try. So we are really innovative based. Road 96 is a procedural narrative game that can sound a bit strange, but we managed to make this. So we believe we can do other new things in the future, very exciting for players. And when we see the whole hype around the game, it's a good way to go to try. It's very exciting.
We are always looking for the next thing. Yeah, we are always looking for innovative studios, and this team. It is a small team. It's an indie studio, but strategically, I believe this is a great launch platform for us as a global publisher. And big games with Johan, and we can't wait until the Road 96 launch, but then the future will really show a good potential for many of similar games. And this is a new area in a new type of games in our roster. We, as you know, Deep Silver and Prime Meta and Ravenscourt, we have a wide portfolio of games, but narrative games are underrepresented, and this is now the starting point of we are opening a door into a new era.
Yeah, and then when we look at all the IPs that are within Embracer, we really think there are good synergies we can make, and
I think we lost you there, Johan.
Sorry.
Yeah, don't worry. But I think we need to thank you very much, and again, very welcome to the group, and thank you, Clemens, for joining this presentation as well. So leaving France, we are heading over to Denmark again, and Jylland. So I think we have Frederick and Andre here. Andre from Saber on the call.
Yes, and yeah, this looks, and we've always been a big fan of the legacy of 3D Realms and the exciting new projects that Slipgate has currently worked on is currently working on are very exciting to us. I feel that that we'll have many opportunities to do something exciting.
And Frederick, are you online?
Yes, I'm here. Hi, Lars. Hi, Tim.
So finally, we got together each other a few years to Nordic, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. I think we've been working together for 6
years. So Embracer, Frederick, and Saber.
So we started working with Saber. I think it's almost a few years ago now. We had a very aligned strategy overall. Also with Tim and Todd joining Saber, there's a lot of both creative and business alignments with Saber, and we've had the honor and pleasure working together with Saber now for some time on various projects. And when this opportunity came to us, it was very clear that Saber was the perfect home for us. We also knew you, Lars, and we knew Embracer from previous collaborations, previous IP that we have worked together on a few years ago. So this was a match made in heaven for us.
Thank you. And could you tell us a bit about?
Absolutely. So Slipgate founded in the back in Interceptor. We did the first, you can call it the first boomer shooter that kind of created this whole subgenre of old school retro first-person shooters with a very obscure game called Rise of the Triad. It became kind of a viral hit. It was a very janky game, but a very fun game. This was way back when Steam was still in its infancy almost, but the game did incredibly well for us, and we built up Interceptor and our team. We did a few more games. The last game we did, we sold to THQ under Embracer, and then we in 2017 rebranded as Slipgate. We almost exclusively do hardcore action games and first-person shooters. As some of you might know, Slipgate actually stems from a series that Tim was very involved with, the Quake series, where the Slipgate portals were essentially ways that you go through the different universes in the Quake universe. And we named our studio Slipgate because that resonates really well with what we do. We primarily focus on hardcore old school shooters. Over the past 4 years, we started expanding what we do to other subgenres of the games industry. We started helping out some of our good friends with some of their games. We built up an expertise for almost a decade in specifically Unreal Engine, going back to the early days of Unreal Engine 3, and then of course following all the different revisions. And we started helping out other studios within also the THQ and Embracer family with their games using the Unreal Engine, helping them port the different games to other platforms. This was a way for us to both learn more, but also help out studios that we really liked working with on other projects. So as part of that, we established a porting department where we don't necessarily market ourselves as a porting studio, but we like helping out studios that make games that resonate really well with what we like to do. We then, as part of that, also started co-developing. The biggest game, one of the biggest games of this year, Ghost Runner, we co-developed almost from day one. We were presented with an early vertical slice of the game a few years ago, and have been working on that game together with All In, One More Level, and 505 for a few years. The game was released recently to fantastic reviews. We have also done all of the ports for the game, including all the way from Switch to the next gen ray-traced ports for PS5 and Series X. And then last but not least, we have our internal development, where we're currently making 4 games internally at Slipgate, almost all original IP. The games range from classic hardcore first-person shooters. We also have an unannounced real-time strategy game that we're working on with some great partners, one of them also being THQ from Embracer. So we have our hands in a lot of different things these days. But I think what's common for all of it is that it's all within this genre that we feel really comfortable with, hardcore action games.
Yes, as a hardcore action game studio, they fit so well with Saber and what we do and how we are improving our portfolio. And as Frederick said, you know, his old retro shooters are the games that I worked on. I feel like I'm getting old, but their future is more than just updating retro shooters. Like he said, the portfolio is increasing, and we really see exciting things, Frederick, for you and your teams in the future as well.
Thank you so much, Tim.
Yes.
I moved slide over to 3D Realms. Could you explain the connection here and what's the ambition is with 3D Realms? I know it's a well-known brand for a lot of people.
Absolutely. We have been working with 3D Realms from day one. The first game we did under Slipgate, under the Interceptor name, was actually a 3D Realms IP. Way back in the early days of the first-person shooters, they made a game under the Apogee name called Rise of the Triad, which was originally called Wolfenstein 2: Rise of the Triad. And the first game we did was a remake, reboot of that game. So we had a long relationship with 3D Realms, and in 2014 we were lucky enough to acquire parts of 3D Realms and help build up a new version of 3D Realms, which homes back to the you can call it the good old days of what 3D Realms were known for in the mid-90s. Games like Duke Nukem, Max Payne, Shadow Warrior, Prey, and so on. A lot of classic games that many of us grew up playing. These days, we have built up 3D Realms as a new publisher and call it a team builder. What we primarily do is build smaller development teams and create new IP, just as 3D Realms did back in the day. Among those are games like Iron Fury, which came out last year, which was a big success for us, a spiritual successor to the classic first-person shooter made popular with games like Quake and Duke Nukem. We also have brand new IP and new teams that we're working together with, Core DK, Wrath being some of them. And then we're working together with other great partners such as Interplay and Night Dive on bringing back some of the old school shooters, which were part of the legacy of the 90s. Games like Sin, which was a game originally done by Ritual Entertainment, which was a studio formed by previous 3D Realms employees. Kingpin as well, kind of forgotten classic, also from the mid-90s, first-person shooter. So under 3D Realms is mostly what it was in the 90s. We focus on what we're good at and what we know best, which is hardcore first-person shooters. We also have some new titles that are on a big event coming up here in a few weeks, where we're going to announce a range of new titles under the 3D Realms label. So we're incredibly excited to have the honor to, follow and build this company that was founded the year I was born.
Yes. 3D Realms has a name that we are all and titles and these legacy brands in our portfolio, and to now to do an exciting things with them for Saber. Working with Frederick and his team is again very, very exciting for us. So we're looking forward to it.
Andre, I know you have been working hard to get this done as well. Do you have any last comments here, from the Saber side on this?
Well, I certainly want to come Slipgate and 3D Realms and Frederick personally, the family of Saber and Embracer family. Like Frederick said, we met a few years ago, and I guess it was the love from the first sight. I always looked at Slipgate and Frederick as I guess Saber in its younger days, meaning these guys with some work for hire. They are working on original IPs. They're publishing some of their games through some other publishers, and they're bringing some other titles to market themselves, which is kind of similar to what we do. We certainly respect their creative abilities. We certainly respect their technical jobs. Say that he's a little bit of fearless kind of guy, which I certainly appreciate. So I have a very high degree of confidence that Slipgate will 3D Realms will do very well as a member of the family, and will be able to grow this team and help elevate them, come to to the next level.
Thank you so much, and I would like to say as well, I'm happy to see that one of the founders is also staying on board as advisor, Mike Nielsen, one of the most brilliant guys I know in the industry, and I know 90s, and the founder and the past CEO of 3D Realms. So thank you so much, and welcome to the family. With that said, we have to leave Denmark and move over to Sweden. And I have the honor to present the last acquisition of this morning, which is a bit different from the others, and it's Grimfrost. And Grimfrost is the leading e-commerce merchandise specialist with high-quality Viking merchandise under their own brand. And they built a very successful business since the foundation 2014 with three amazing entrepreneurs, actually located here in Karlstad and very close by to Falköping, Skövde. And the idea is to bring them on board and obviously I see a number of potential synergies within the group. First of all, the knowledge how to build a global merchandise e-commerce business under one brand, but also the Viking themed merchandise are very well suited against the Viking themed games in the Embracer Group. So please stay tuned for announcements in the future on that regards. We are acquiring 70% of the business, and the founders remain with 10% each, and have a very long-term commitment. By this investment, the company will be able to grow even faster and more, offering a wider range of products and a better supply of products to consumers. They've already grown substantially in the past years, but we look forward to grow over the coming decade. So I know they're one of the most respected companies within the Viking merchandise products, and I know they've been supplying leading TV series and films across the world the past years. So with that said, I know they're online listening here, so very welcome to the Embracer family. So with that said about Grimfrost, I can say a final that I'm really pleased. All this joining has been worked. I can't wait to see what the future will bring. I think all companies have a strategic rationale why they're joining, and it's all making us, the combine of us, stronger. And as you've been hearing today, it's all about creativity and entrepreneurship, and that's Embracer is all about. And we feel a strong connection with all guys and ladies in that regard. So with that said, I would like to leave over. Please stay online. It might be a few questions from Ben that I can't answer, and you might be able to answer them during the Q&A session. So Benjamin from Berenberg.
Yes, thank you very much, Lars, and to each of the management teams who presented today. Just as a reminder, you can submit your questions onto the message, and we have to pick up some of those. But perhaps jumping straight into a question from myself, Lars, before we go into some of the nitty-gritty on some of the businesses you are acquiring or with today. You've seen a lot of news in the industry that acquisitions are becoming increasingly difficult to complete in the video gaming space, given it's very hot right now. Tencent, EA, Microsoft paying big sums to businesses. You've clearly not had that issue. You've managed 8 acquisitions this morning in very different areas of the market too. Maybe just give us an update on practically how you've been able to achieve completing all of these deals in such a competitive market.
Well, I think that is somehow better, obviously, by the sellers, entrepreneurs. But I think to answer it from my side, obviously, Embracer is offering a different proposition, and it's all about long-term alignment with creating something greater and bigger in the future. And that's why you can see this long-term alignment and earnouts over up years. And I think, yes, it's a competitive environment. There's a lot of activity. At the same time, it's a lot of fantastic entrepreneurs and creators out, and I think our operating model really is a strength in terms of M&A. Obviously, 8 management teams all across Embracer, most of them working on M&A on a daily basis. It's not all about acquisitions and driving all this financials. It's all about people, and I think in most cases, when you connect people, you start doing business, publishing business, you are creating a relationship that might end up just in a relationship, or in a publishing relationship, or in an M&A. So, and I'm super long term. I think we all are very long term aligned here in Embracer. I having decades in my horizon building this. So for me, it's important not to rush any M&A, and I know some shareholders are a bit impatient and emailing me, why can't you make an announcement? But I'm please asking all shareholders and to have some patience. It's important that we don't rush and we're making things patiently, and that we are bringing the right companies on board with quality. So with that said, as I stated this morning, Ben, that that report, but we have ongoing time for transformative conversation. Whether they will end up in acquisition or not remains to be seen, but I'm confident of the future of Embracer on the M&A side, but also obviously on the organic side most.
Okay, that's very helpful. And one of the areas that with the acquisition of Crazy Labs this morning that you ventured deeper into is the mobile space. And I have to say, looking at KPIs from Crazy Labs, I was particularly impressed, which is interesting. There's been nervousness amongst the investor community in the mobile gaming space in the last months as a result of IDFA and the challenges it could have potentially on customer acquisition. But growth at Crazy Labs doesn't seem to be affected this when seemingly some of the peers have been struggling.
Do we still see from Israel on board here, Sagi? I think, Ben, either Sagi is on board here and I have questions for you guys. We need to wait until our reporting on August 18th. As you know, in Cyber, and I don't want to comment on things that are outside these acquisitions, and I have questions part is a bit outside Crazy Labs, but I'm the Crazy Labs business, their growth and their success, and I'm highly impressed about what they are able to achieve.
Yeah, well, you know how analysts are. We're always trying to get as much information as possible. But it does seem like a great acquisition, and one that's bucking the trend and doing very well. Maybe onto the indie space. I think I'm right in thinking that Ghost Ship and Easy Trigger are Coffee Stain's first, or at least amongst their first acquisitions. I know people are separately. The Realms also joining Saber, which will have a strategic focus on publishing of independent developer titles. Also, it's like you're doing more in this space. Is that a strategic push? Was it sort of opportunistic as these good businesses came about and started to have discussions with them? Maybe talk to us a little bit about that.
I think talking about Coffee Stain, obviously it's been a great success and main team, and you're right, they haven't been doing a lot of acquisition. Obviously, Ghost Ship has been one of their key products under the publishing label over the past years and highly successful. And I'm really pleased to see that team joining now as a sister company. There is some substantial ambitions in the future, what we're able to create within that, let's call it operating group, further, successful indie companies. I think, stay tuned on that part, what will happen in the future. But, Ghost Ship is a way in the Coffee Stain, but they are in Denmark. They are very well connected to the Danish or the global industry. and well respected. So I think it's a strategic value for us to actually being able to fully having Ghost Ship within the group. Not only financially, obviously, it helps, and to be clear, financially on Ghost Ship doesn't actually add any revenues, because the revenues is already coming on a deep right now under the pushing, but it obviously helps the operational a bit because we're getting the full margin. But obviously in the future, they would be able to hopefully have more product lines and investments going in under the Ghost Ship. Anton, or you Stein here, perhaps you can just share a bit, you know, what you saw with Ghost Ship and Easy Trigger and
Yeah, sure. I think, as mentioned here, we have done a lot of acquisitions, which has been, I guess, kind of natural how we built Coffee Stain. Always been about, you know, 100% focus on the products and just not focusing on just growing the company in any way, pretty much. And so acquisitions has not been a natural part of how we wanted to build Coffee Stain. But I think, like, when it comes to Ghost Ship, for example, it became very clear for us, you know, early that there were so many similarities. And I mean, the first time I met Søren, I think I was super impressed with their thinking being, I mean, they were a new company at that time, but I mean, they are super experienced. They've been in the gaming industry for a long time. And I was so impressed by seeing all their thoughts on how they run Ghost Ship. I think it was very clear already from the beginning that they were, you know, very independent. And when we joined as a publisher on the title, it also, I guess, a special publishing relationship where they do a lot themselves. So when we started discussing, you know, we wanted to get them into the group for quite some time, but it was not maybe super clear to them what the benefit would be. And I think in the end, when we figured this way where we would set up this structure where they will reside as a sister company to us and operate kind of independently, that opened up that door. And I think it's a very interesting way forward. Yeah, super happy about that. And like when it comes to Easy Trigger, I think it's more of a natural acquisition for us. We've been working with them, I guess, a little bit even more closely as a publisher, and they are a small company in Sweden. It makes total sense to get them into the Coffee Stain group. So yeah.
Thank you.
Maybe just one very quick follow-up on that. When you're having those conversations and looking to publish within Coffee Stain, how important is it to see a pathway to potentially sort of acquiring the developer, you know, going forwards? Is that important to you to be able to think that that's a possibility?
It hasn't been that important, to be honest, but I think that, I mean, our strategy has already from the beginning been a little bit different, where we've always been very flexible with how we do our publishing and investments. So in the Ghost Ship case, we had the, you know, the 30 that we owned in Ghost Ship from the start. And the idea with that at that point was maybe not necessarily to acquire them at some point, but we just wanted to align ourselves more tightly with them. And obviously, if you just go in with only publishing, it's a little bit more short term than what we wanted. So having that minority share from the get-go made it more clear it was a long-term commitment, but we didn't really know like whether it would end up in an acquisition or not. But I mean, so and it all, you know, everything worked out, and then now we're here, and that's great, obviously. So.
Okay, great. Well, one of the other areas clearly you've bought into today, Lars, is the VR, and we know that, you know, Oculus is a big area of focus from Facebook's. They've been making big hiring into that business unit for them, and providing big incentives to developers who create content onto that platform. You completed the acquisition of Go last year, now Forcefield today. Is this like a strategic push into VR? How do you see this market developing over the coming years, and I guess how much does VR excite you, over the few years?
Well, obviously, as stated, with the acquisition of Vertigo, really excites me. First of all, it's a commercial viable platform for developers to build VR products, and Vertigo proved it could be highly profitable as a business. I just see the growth in that market, and as Clemens stated, I think that market will grow with a higher pace than the rest of the more traditional gaming market. So synergies and cooperation works out very well. And but with that said, I personally love to see more acquisition, capitalization, and bringing more fantastic creative future. But it's really up to John and Arthur, Martin, and Richard, and Kamar team to do that. It's their business, and they are driving it.
Okay. Maybe last question for me before I take a couple from the web. There's been a lot of companies of late in paying titles because of challenges with development. Clearly, a lot of the businesses you have today have got big plans for their pipelines over the next few years. When constructing your earnout payments, some of which is financial, some of which I know is operational, how important is getting titles out on time for you when creating and structuring those agreements with regard to milestone payments?
Yeah, well, there's a few milestones. It depends on the agreements. That there is a definition of number of titles to be released over a number of years. Obviously, again, it's important for us not to construct these milestones that we push or the companies are pushing releases too early. So I think we have taken enough space here to be aligned on that. Quality comes first. That's important all across Embracer.
Yep, and it's something that's put you in good stead in many years in the past, so not changing that is probably the right thing to do. So a couple of questions from the web here, one of which is on China. So there's been a lot of news surrounding stricter rules around younger players in China in the past week. I know Embracer hasn't historically had a huge amount of exposure to the Chinese market, but of the acquisitions this morning, do you anticipate these new regulations being an issue for any of the businesses being acquired?
No.
Okay, that's that's very simple. But you know, we have seen the likes of we had an announcement from Team 17 a few weeks ago when they acquired Story Toys, and albeit in a completely different market, one of the reasons why they bought that business was to expand their knowledge of sort of regulatory hurdles in selling to younger audiences. Is that something that Embracer is concerned at all, like across the broader business, or is it something that you feel is in check and it's more noise in the market than anything?
Well, it's a delicate question. You could spend hours answering. Obviously, we do have products for children, not that much in China, I would say, but obviously for the world. But you know, I'm confident about my management teams, how they manage you know, this product, these audiences. So it's not a concern for me. Obviously, we've done a lot of you know, due diligence. So I'm sorry, Ben, I can't really give you any more color on that.
No, that's absolutely fine. One of the other questions from the web is with regard to sort of first computers with Slipgate and 3D Realms acquisitions this morning. You know, there's an expansion deeper into this market, and you already have a lot of presence in that area already. The question is, how much shared learning do you get from bringing more experience and expertise into a specific genre into the group, given how sort of decentralized the model works?
Well, I know, just from my own point of view, you learn things new every day, and you know, you can never get enough learning and context. And I think the sharing of knowledge across Embracer and each operating unit just becomes greater every quarter or every year. So I'm confident that there is a lot of synergies in that regard, and let alone the commercial reasons that, you know, IPs is king, and having more IPs available and resources to develop them. Because again, remember, the bottleneck for growth is the talent. It's always to find the talents and the creators, the developers, and the business people to bring more products to the market. That's the bottleneck, and that's why we are you know, making all these mergers or acquisitions this morning.
Okay, well, that's very helpful, and I think we've run through most of my questions and those on the web as well. So perhaps the last question I'll ask you is, you know, over the next, maybe perhaps longer term, few years, clearly Embracer's got a significant opportunities, very well respected for being a group that sort of harnesses the opportunities of the businesses that join you. What is it that you're, I guess, most excited about from an acquisition perspective over both with these acquisitions and over the coming years? That will be my last question, and then I'll let you wrap up.
No, but you know, I'm excited about just seeing you know, all my colleagues and teams, you know, really buying into the model and continue to grow the model. You know, we continue to find and hire more talents, but we also continue bringing more fantastic creators and entrepreneurs on to this platform. And I think the greater and in the bigger we get, in a way, the greater we become. And I think ecosystems we are building, it's unique in many ways, and I think it will leverage a lot of businesses that we get on board. And I think it just makes completely sense for people to join. because they could see the benefit of becoming part of the group. Obviously, capital we could bring them, but also all the synergies, IPs, distribution, marketing, technologies. And we have seen nothing yet of this coming out, or we have seen a bit, but over the coming decade or decades, I think you will see some amazing things coming out from this ecosystem. So I think that's why it makes sense, and that's why that excites me. That the greater and bigger it becomes, the more rationale there is for people to join. And remember, it's not all about owning everything everywhere. It just makes sense, and we are an independent platform. We have no ambition to build our own exclusive end consumer platform, for example. We are complementing the industry. We work with our industry partners. We work with the leading platforms, and we would like to continue doing that. They're business partners and friends to us. And we are just 1% roughly of the global gaming market. So I could see plenty of growth the coming years and decades to come.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me, Lars, and thank you to the management teams who presented, and appreciate that some of my questions were a little bit tricky to answer this morning, but I appreciate you taking the time.
No problem, and thank you everyone. And we are quarterly coming up the 18th, and I'm sure there will be a lot of more questions then from everyone. So thank you.